Good morning.
Good to see you. Winston Peters says you are too woke. Are you woke?
Look, I think I'm pretty straight up with New Zealanders. I've been pretty clear what my priorities are: jobs, health, homes, re-election on the cost of living. And I think New Zealanders know that they can trust me at my word. So when I say that I'm going to do something or not do something, that's what's going to happen.
Is Winston untrustworthy?
I think New Zealanders expect Winston Peters to blow a lot of hot air before an election. He's said that he won't work with people and that he will work with people, and then done completely the opposite after the next election. I can still remember when Winston Peters said that under no circumstances would he accept the baubles of office, right before accepting a job as a minister and taking the baubles of office. So, you know, I take all of that with a grain of salt.
Chippy, what's a woman?
Ryan, I'm not getting into the culture wars that Winston Peters desperately wants. If he wants to put police on the toilets, on the doors of every public toilet, he can do that. But the reality here is I think New Zealanders want to see us focus on the big issues that affect the country.
But it's kind of, I mean, look, I agree, it's a bit of a sideshow. But can you not just say, I mean, what have you changed your opinion? What is a woman?
An adult female is a woman. I'm not going to buy into that nonsense, though, that Winston Peters is buying into, that says that culture wars are more important than the fact that people are losing their jobs, more important than the fact that the health system's descending into crisis, more important than the fact that his government now thinks that foreign home buyers are more important than Kiwis who are struggling to buy a home. I think this government's priorities are all wrong, and Winston Peters is the handmaiden to this government.
The handmaiden? Goodness me, that's a new one. Let's talk Stuart Nash. Did you shaft him? He says you were mates and you shafted him.
Stuart's a free agent. He's entitled to go about his life and do whatever he wants to do now. I dismissed him from the cabinet because he broke the rules. I'd do the same to any other minister who broke the rules as Stuart did, regardless of whether they were a friend or not.
Would you ever have him back in a cabinet?
Well, I think he's ruled that out, so that's really a question for him as to what his political future might be. It's clearly not going to be with the Labour Party.
So, no, not with the Labour Party, but if he came in with New Zealand First and you had to do a deal, would it work?
I've said before the election, I will set out which parties Labour could work with, which parties we think we can't work with, where the areas are that we have in common with other parties and where the no-go zones are for us. And I'm waiting until closer to the election to do that, as you would expect, because there's a lot of water still to flow under the bridge.
Right,
yet.
Winston's still on the table, on the cards then. Why weren't you with Penny on election night?
I had a long-standing commitment here in Wellington, but I was with Penny last week through the by-election campaign, as I have been through the by-election campaign, and of course I was speaking to him on Saturday night. A tough by-election result for Penny. He worked really, really hard. I think he represented us well. Still, and you know, congratulations to Te Pāti Māori and Oreni Kaipara. Clear win for them. Congratulations to them.
Decisive win. Did you not want to be within 10 foot of a 3,000 vote?
No, the fact that I wasn't going to be there on election night was something that was decided quite some time ago. I had another commitment that I needed to meet. I was in regular contact with Penny.
You've got an uphill battle, haven't you, on your hands when it comes to the Māori seats. You only got one in your possession at the moment. What does Labour offer Māori that Te Pāti Māori doesn't?
Well, this was a unique set of circumstances. It was a by-election following the untimely death of a Māori Party member of Parliament. The turnout was low. It was during the local government election campaigns. There are a whole lot of things that made that a complicated by-election. And one of the things that we did struggle to overcome during the campaign was the Māori Party's message that if you vote for Oreni, you still have Penny because he's already in Parliament. And, you know, I think we can we accept that that was actually quite a hard thing for us to overcome during the by-election campaign.
Right, let's talk about groceries for a second, because a couple of weeks back I was speaking to Willie Jackson and he sort of floated this idea that you might have a mandate prices at the checkouts at supermarkets. Are you seriously considering that?
Price controls isn't something
price
we're
controls?
considering.
You're not considering price controls?
No.
Well, why was Willie talking about it then?
Although I haven't seen those comments or the context in which they were made, but it's not something that the Labor Party is considering.
All right, so that's off the table. You know, I was in Australia last week, and they obviously have their fruit and veggies, the fresh stuff is off GST free. There's no consumption tax on it. And I know that it was a thing that you pushed, and I know the economists didn't like it. But when you look at the difference in price, Australia versus here, you start to think, well, maybe it's not such a bad idea. And to hell with the economists. Is this something you guys are going to bring back?
I think it's unlikely we'll be campaigning on that policy at the next election. I've said we'll set out our tax policy before the end of this year, and that will include issues around GST. But there's a whole lot of other things that we need to look at in Australia. They have a more competitive grocery sector in Australia. They don't have a duopoly controlling the entirety of the grocery market in the way we do. And they have a more active regulator in Australia. This government's all anti-regulation. Actually, in the grocery sector, we could use a little bit more of it.
So you said you're not going to do the GST off fruit and veggies at the next election.
I said after the last election, I think it's highly unlikely we'll be campaigning on that again at the next election.
Because it was a bad idea and it wouldn't have worked?
Well, the public had a choice and they clearly didn't choose that as their solution to the cost of living. We'll have a different set of policies heading into this year's election, next year's election.
Are you guys considering a sugar tax?
Not currently, it's not active, not something that we're exploring actively.
Okay. All right. What about inactively? Whatever that means.
Oh, as I said, we haven't asked for any advice on that.
Okay.
We said at the last election that that's not something that we would do.
All right. Chris, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for being with me. Have a good day. Chris Hipkins, Labor Leader, live from Parliament. It is 7:45 now, and you're watching Herald.